Hey, everybody, I'm Allie Bloyd. I started in marketing really about 2011, I guess you could say. I had initially gone to college to be in the medical space, decided it was not a good fit for me, and transitioned into graphic design and marketing. From that point, I really always knew that I wanted to have my own business. I, tried a couple of businesses initially for one reason or the other. It just wasn't the right fit. And ultimately, I became a marketing director for some local businesses for 5 to 6 years before starting my business. So I really got a very in-depth look at the ins and outs of working with pretty large local businesses, understanding what their challenges were, not only on the marketing side, but on the sales side, the internal operations side. And it's also where a lot of my paid ad strategies actually developed. I was running these ads for the businesses that I was working for, really testing a lot and trying to figure out what worked. And eventually I did. I found out what worked very well. And at a certain point, I decided, hey, if I don't start my business now, then I'm never going to be happy. I know that this is what I need to be doing. And so I took the leap, started taking on clients, and really from that point, I shifted from pretty much 100% agency, done for you agency services. And over the years, I've transitioned into more coaching, consulting, done with you. We still have done for you agency services, but it's not necessarily at all what they looked like when I first got started. So my core audience initially, and still today in a lot of ways, has always been local businesses, local business owners who want to learn how to generate leads, generate appointments, generate clients for their business. Because of that, I had so many marketers and agencies start reaching out to me over the years asking for help and support. They wanted to know how I was able to get these great results for my clients. They wanted to be able to do the same for their clients. And then as time went on, my business continued to grow. They also wanted help on how to grow their business in the same way. So at this time, I work with several different groups. Local businesses are still kind of what I consider the bread and butter, but marketers and agencies who work with local businesses is also another core group. And then as I've grown a pretty successful coaching and consulting business, I also work with other people who are looking to do that as well. So it's a little bit of everything. E-commerce is not my specialty. I have worked with e-commerce businesses, but I'll say that's kind of the group that a lot of what you learn today is still going to apply to e-commerce if that's the business that you're in, but that is not my forte necessarily. So that's kind of the simple path that I took. Obviously, that path took about 10 years, maybe a little bit more, but I am so excited to be in this position to be able to help other people learn how to manage their own marketing internally, or simply understand it better so that whoever else they hire to help them, they're all on the same page. They know that what they're doing is right. They're not just relying on, somebody to tell them what is or is not working, and they can play a much more front and center role in their business growth. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have the marketing and sales, but marketing will lead to the sales opportunities, then your business, no matter how great it is not going to grow.
Absolutely. So, Allie, I'm excited for you to be coming to our conference in Dallas in almost 10 days, where
I know.
all the levelers get together. You're going to be one of the speakers there, so we're excited for that. But without any further ado, let's get started with the workshop. Yeah. So let's set the agenda for the 3 days. We have Monday through Wednesday, about an hour and a half each day, and our intention is to maximize the time. And the first probably 30, 40 minutes, we'll chat about the lessons and strategies and really go through what you need to really learn as far as going live and launching everything that we're teaching. In the last half of the session each day, we'll do a Q&A, and I'll organize the Q&A, and Allie and I will answer as much as we can. So Allie, let's go ahead and have you share your screen, and let's get started with day one.
Sounds good.
While she's pulling that up, if you're in the official community watching this, I just want to get the engagement going. In the comments for the streaming, tell us what city you're checking in from. And if you don't know, these workshops that we do every month, the 5-day challenge that we do, the SaaSpreneur course programs that we do, allows you to engage with a lot of fellow high levelers. We even have high leveler like lunch groups in so many cities that we hear about. It's a great way to network. So tell us what city you are checking in from in the streaming. And Allie, let's get started.
Yeah, sounds good. So what we're going to be going through over the next couple of days really is the foundational pieces that you need to have in place to build out an effective paid ad strategy. So I know that the people in this group probably do a lot of different things. High level is great for so many different types of businesses. So I might have local businesses in this group. I might have marketers, agencies, consultants, SaaS businesses, and people that do a variation of those things or something totally different. But what you're going to learn is applicable to all of those businesses. So I don't want you to try and jump around, which is why we've kind of laid out these 3 days as we have. Today is everything you need to do before we start to dive into more of the technical ad stuff, some of the fun stuff that a lot of people do want to hop over to. But this is based on my experience working with a lot of other marketers, a lot of other potential SaaS businesses or local businesses in terms of what they struggle with the most. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is your audience and your offer. The offer is so critical when it comes to a great ad strategy, because if you do not actually have something that people want, it doesn't matter how your campaigns are set up. It doesn't matter what those ads look like or what the copy says. People are not going to bite, or maybe you'll get a little bit of traction, but it's never going to be super profitable for you. On that same note, if you have a really great offer, but the ads are going to people who it's not relevant to, you're also not going to see the results that you have. So we need to have an audience offer fit, but we also need to first and foremost really understand, who is it that I'm trying to serve? Who is it that I can best serve? Or who do I want to start with? And then what does that offer need to look like? And based on that, that's really where the lead generation strategy comes into play. That's where we're going to be identifying, the types of funnels or destinations that we're going to be sending people from these ads, what the next steps need to look like. So we will start with understanding your avatar. Some people might know what an avatar is. Some people might not. But this is really ground zero of developing this ad strategy. So a lot of times when I'm working with marketers in particular in my programs, they will come to me and say, hey, I'm either starting this agency or trying to start this SaaS business, or maybe they're already doing some of that, but it's not really scaling up and they know they need to get more clients into their business. And I'll say, okay, who is it that you really want to work with? Who is it that you serve? And they'll say, I want to serve small business owners. And while there is obviously a market for someone to serve small business owners as a whole, it is very difficult to create an offer and an ad strategy that works very well for a very broad audience like that. So even with my audience of local businesses, so that's still a niche in some ways, but it's still also pretty broad. And I tell my students that, I kind of stumbled into this niche in a way because when I really got started in this, there wasn't anybody that seemed to be kind of claiming the local business space. And that's all I ever knew. And that is something that has worked well for me in some ways because I am able to work with a lot of different types of businesses. I like to, do something a little bit different every day, but it also has its negatives. And so if I were starting with a paid ad strategy today, I would not be targeting local businesses. And that's not what I started with whenever I was growing my business. I had specific niches that I was focused on. Over the years, my offers changed and they became applicable to more people. But you really want to get more specific. So that means business owners, entrepreneurs, or biz op, that's not really a niche. That's still very broad. Even going as far as local business or e-commerce or coaches, consultants, course creators, that's still pretty broad. We want to try and niche it down a little bit more specifically. So industry specific is a very easy way to niche down. Does that mean that you have to lock yourself into working with that niche forever? No, it does not. But we're talking about a paid ad strategy here. So we want something that is going to resonate with a specific type of person and make it easier for us to be able to find those types of people. So getting your offer really focused around a specific industry can be a great way to go. Once you get this system rocking and rolling for one of those industries, you can very easily replicate it and go to other niches as well. So that is one type of niche that you could focus on. Another might be business model specific. So a bricks and mortar business is different than just a local business as a whole. There are some local businesses that are not really bricks and mortar businesses. So that's another type of niche that you could serve. You also might be focusing on people that are doing a certain amount of revenue per year or doing certain types of deals. That's what we would call background specific. So this might be for somebody who already has kind of a proven system for the people that they're working with. And they say, okay, this is the type of business I can best help. Maybe I technically could work with different businesses, but if I want to get them the best results, these are some of the specifics that they need to have for me to be able to do that. And then it also could be needs specific. So there are a lot of different needs when it comes to business owners. Some of them are looking to get into paid advertising for the first time, or maybe doing their own lead generation, or maybe they need sales support, or maybe their systems are chaotic. You know, what is the piece of what you do that can help those people based on their needs? So again, maybe it's not industry specific, it's need specific, but we need to niche down into one of these areas. Now that we have that niche in mind, we want to get far more specific about the type of person that we're going to be speaking to, because people are bombarded with advertisements every single day. And if you are not speaking to that individual on a deeper level, they're just going to keep scrolling. So we need to make sure that we know, who is it really that you're talking to? And if you don't know, that's okay. This is the time to do the research on those things and to get all of those details together. So some of the details that we'd be looking for when we're putting together an avatar would be, what are their goals in their own words? What are their values? You know, not necessarily related to business, but just personal. What are their values? Where do they get information in the world? Are they reading blogs? Are they watching certain television channels? Are they watching certain YouTube channels, reading certain magazines? What are their trusted sources of information? What does their family look like? So, of course, when we do this, we are going to, at the end of the day, have multiple avatars that make up one specific niche, because we know that, you know, this is not a one size fits all. But at the same time, you are going to see a lot of commonalities between the people that you work with. So a huge percentage of the people that I work with are married and they have kids. There are obviously people that I work with that do not fit that role, but they're not the same avatar as this specific person that I would be building out. So we'll take a look at what that actually looks like in a second, but the family makeup does make a difference. Somebody who is married with kids thinks about things often very different than somebody who does not have a spouse or children. And that goes into their values and their goals, sometimes their sources of info. So it's all going to play a role here. What is their occupation? So if they are somebody in that specific niche that you are targeting, let's get more specific. Like, what do they do within that niche? And what is their actual job title? Not every single person out there is targeting the business owner or the CEO. Sometimes they're targeting an HR professional. Sometimes they're targeting a marketing director. So who is it that's actually going to make the decisions that would be related to your offer? What are their specific challenges when it comes to what you can help them solve? And again, we want to put these things in their words, not ours. If you don't know a lot of this stuff, the single best thing that you can do is just start having conversations with people who are in your ideal market and ask them these questions, because we really want it, again, to resonate very, very closely with the people who are seeing these ads. What are their pain points in terms of them trying to solve this problem? What are their potential objections? And what is their role in the purchase? So maybe you are targeting that HR director, but they still are going to need to get approval for that, product, service, relationship to be able to move forward. So it's really important that we identify that, because your ad copy, your back-end processes really needs to appeal to this specific person, but we also need to keep in mind that there's somebody else in the mix that needs to be making these decisions as well. So this is what a customer avatar sheet could look like. So this is one of my customer avatars. And again, you will end up with quite a few. I have many customer avatars. These are different based on the specific product or service that I'm trying to advertise. And each product or service might have multiple avatars as well. Sometimes you're going to have ads that are specific to these avatars. And sometimes you're going to take a look at them and be able to kind of bundle a few of them up into one ad. But this is a really great example. Okay. Small business Bob. He wants to grow his local business, provide for his family, provide employment for his team. He doesn't want this constant anxiety that he feels. That is a big pain point and challenge that we will talk about with small business Bob, but he feels anxious a lot of the time. He wants to get rid of that. His values are providing a quality service. He doesn't want to waste his hard-earned money. He believes in working hard, and he is trying to build his American dream. His sources of information might be Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, 10X, some of the books that are business related. Magazines might be the New York Post or Entrepreneur Magazine. He might go to blogs or websites like Social Media Examiner or Breitbart. He goes to industry trade conferences. So whatever his specific industry is, those are the types of conferences that he's going to. Some of the people he might be familiar with would be Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, maybe Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs. And then he's tried online programs and tools already. They have not worked for him, but he has been seeking out these solutions to these problems. His challenges are that agencies have not worked out very well for him. He doesn't know tech very well at all, so he doesn't feel confident in his skills to be able to do this himself. He hasn't done much paid advertising personally, but he knows that whatever has been done has not worked for him. And he is really scared of wasting more money because he's already wasted a lot of money. He feels as though he is not capable of doing this on his own, but he knows that anyone else he's entrusted this to has not worked out for him. And he's also short on time. He's busy working in the field. So those are things that the offer is going to need to address. Those are things that the ad copy is going to need to address. In terms of objections, again, he's worried he's going to make one more investment that will waste his money. He's worried that he will not be able to keep up. So that fear of personal failure. And he also is worried that he's not going to be able to fit this into his schedule. So those are things that the offer we'd be presenting is going to overcome, but without knowing those details, you're not going to be able to put together a really effective offer. His role in the purchasing process is signing up for his company, or maybe he's going to participate a little bit himself, but he's going to bring in a team member to really kind of spearhead this. But he does want to understand what's going on and what's going to happen. He's around age 50, a male, married, typically 2 younger kids or maybe some teens. He could be in the US, he could be in the UK, he could be in Canada. Those are kind of the 3 areas that we focus on the most. He's either in a trades business or a local service business. He is the owner, taking home $100,000 to $200,000 a year. And he has gone to high school and maybe has some college. Okay, so this is small business Bob. There is a lot more I could tell you about small business Bob, but these are the details that you really want to know for your customer avatar sheet. Once you have this done, you are going to feel so much more capable of putting together an offer and copy and creative and everything that we're going to go over the rest of the week that is going to appeal to small business Bob. This is a step that so many people want to skip over. They say, oh, I need to know my avatar, but they never really take the time to dive deep into who it is they're actually trying to serve.
Let's pause for 1 second, Allie. One second. So
sure.
I just want to clarify with everyone as we go through some of these really important points. We are doing this workshop for agency owners to help you run your own agency ads in order to attract clients for yourself. Just to clarify, okay? Our intention is to help you get clients with paid ads. So what we need to do is understand the small business owners that we're working with. And that's why we're creating so many different avatars. Okay. And local is what I often recommend. But sometimes you have to figure out where you should have your starting point, depending on the level of advertising skills you have. It's not easy to go attract a local business off of ads. It's not that simple. It's easier said than done. But I just want to clarify with everyone in here, our intention with the workshop is to help you run paid ads for yourself and your agency or your SaaS business or whatever you're doing, for you to attract new customers for yourself. Okay, so let's keep going.
Yeah. And I'll add on to that. If you are an agency, these are the same skills that you will also use to help your clients. So the things that we're covering are not just specific to agency. We are focused on agency. Those are the things that we're really going to be talking about. But when you master these skills, you will also have the tools in your tool belt to better serve people on the advertising side, if that is what your business does. So there are some differences, but as a whole, it's really understanding these systems and then applying it to whatever business you are working with. In terms of why people buy, so we need to understand just in general, what are the things that drive people to take a purchasing action, to make money, save time, avoid effort, escape mental or physical pain, increase their comfort, achieve greater cleanliness or health, gain praise, feel more loved, or increase popularity or social status. There are different offers that give people different things that they are looking for when they buy. You are not necessarily trying to shove all of these into your offer or your copy. You need to understand, what is it that my specific products and services help people do from this list? So as an agency, number one, we should be helping people make money. That is what the role of an agency is. I think in a lot of ways, many agencies don't see themselves like that. They say, I'm here to generate leads. Okay. But we want to give these clients the ability to make more money through the ads or the strategies or the systems that we're presenting them with. So how do we help them make money? That's something that we're going to go through over the next couple of days. But that is a big reason of why someone buys from you. To save money. Okay. Let's say you're selling SaaS. That's a big one. If your avatar is already investing in a lot of programs and tools, okay, that's the difference. Is if I've got small business Bob and he doesn't have a CRM, he doesn't have email marketing, he doesn't have text marketing, he doesn't have a funnel builder, he doesn't have any of these things. In fact, it's not necessarily going to help him save money. It's going to be an additional expense, but it will help him make more money. Okay. But if you have a company that maybe is a little bit larger, or they're just more experienced in marketing, and they have all of these different programs and tools. So that's who I was when I was a marketing director. I was using between 7 to 10 programs to put together what I call my social marketing system. And it's really all of the things that High Level does for us today. I was doing those by piecing them all together with Zapier. And it was challenging and it was expensive because you're having to pay for all these different services individually. So if someone was attracting me as that marketing director, they'd be talking about a financial savings, not an additional expense. So this really impacts the messaging that you're going to be going to, and you won't be able to put this together effectively if you don't know that avatar. Saving time. That's another one that agencies and SaaS should be helping their clients and customers with. That time savings of them doing it all themselves, that time savings of having to piece all those programs together and do all that troubleshooting and do all of that training. Avoiding effort, very, very similar. If you're putting too much effort into just piecing things together, you're not actually putting your effort into that 20% that's going to help you make more money. So escaping mental and physical pain, this is also really, really applicable. If you're a business owner and you're not growing, which I'm sure there's a lot of people in this room right now that can relate to this. You think about it all the time. Okay. As business owners, we want to grow. We want to feel like the effort and the time and the work that we're putting in is getting us where we want to go. And if we're not doing that, then there is a mental pain involved. It's the same thing for the clients that you're going to be working with. But again, there's different types of pain. If you're focusing on a person who maybe is really on the decline, their mental pain is going to be much different than a business owner who's just got stagnant growth. They're not really scaling, or maybe they are growing, but everything is so chaotic because nothing is systemized. Those are two totally different types of mental pain. Typically, it's not going to be a physical pain, but you never know. Mental pain turns into physical pain sometimes. And so those are things you need to be aware of. To get more comfort, if you have more money, typically, you're going to be able to live a more comfortable life. So that's pretty straightforward. Greater health. You have the ability to put money into your health. So all of these things at the end of the day could apply to you, your avatar, or your offer, but you need to identify the primary reasons that someone would buy your offer and make sure that we really go into detail about how your product, service, or offer helps them make money, save time, avoid effort. So we want to get very, very clear on the reasons why someone would buy from you and make sure that we have that information tied into our customer avatar. The last thing we'll talk about in relation to the avatar is the transformation, because this is one of the biggest issues that I see with advertising in general, is that every single product or service provides a transformation. It is either helping people get closer to pleasure or farther from pain. Okay. If you don't have a product or service that provides a transformation, you're not selling the right product or service. You need to make sure you understand what that transformation is. So, what do they have before they buy? What do they have after they buy? What do they have before? A business they can't predict. They don't know how much money is coming in this month. They don't know where their next 50 leads are coming from or where their next client is coming from. What do they have after? A business they can predict. What do they feel like before? Stressed, anxious, busy, but just doing the busy work that isn't helping them move forward. What do they feel like after? Accomplished, relaxed. They don't have that stress and anxiety. Their average day before might be trying lots of things, not seeing results, putting out fires, doing the work in the field or serving their clients. Afterwards, their team is making sales. They're overseeing some of these efforts. They're not in the field anymore because they've got enough leads and appointments that their sales team is out there handling it. So if you can't already tell, this has a tremendous impact on the daily life of the person that you're serving. You have got to make sure that that is front and center in your mind. Their status, they want to feel accomplished. They want to maybe prove others wrong. They want their family to feel like they're doing something great for them, but they don't really feel like that's happening. Afterwards, they feel like they're a provider, whether it's for their family or their team or their community. They feel successful in whatever that means to them. The good versus evil comparison, who are their enemies, quote unquote? Well, for small business Bob, he believes that corporate businesses and national chains hurt small businesses. So that's kind of the good versus evil to small business Bob in a lot of ways. You see these big corporate chains putting small businesses out of business, and that's something that he wants to prevent. He wants to help his local community thrive. So again, dive deep into this. Do not skip over this step. Make sure you really understand this person. And when you do, everything else is going to flow so much better. So now that we understand who that avatar is, at least that first one, because again, you may have many and you might have a different avatar right now than you'll have 6 months from now, but that's okay. Really starting with that single avatar when it comes to your paid ads is definitely what I recommend. You're going to get much better traction and avoid wasting a lot of money if you do that. So step 2
Allie,
is now.
before we get into crafting the offer, can we get a temperature check in the room of how many folks that are in this room are interested in launching SaaS businesses versus agency? Because I know this whole workshop went external. Like there's a lot of people in here that don't even have a high level account. And the whole idea of SaaS and as an agency talking about it is kind of a strange thing. Allie, can you break down agency versus SaaS real quick And because I know crafting your offer, it's going to be relevant to the type of business model you run. And how is this
Yes,
all relevant to high levelers in general? Can we just unpack
definitely.
that real quick? Yeah.
I will. And when we go into crafting your offer, we'll talk about both agency and SaaS and really in general, the best practices. But if you are a marketer or an aspiring agency owner or an existing agency owner, you're likely doing services for your clients. So what those services are could be a variety of things. You might be a graphic design agency. You might be an SEO agency. You might be a paid ads agency for some specific type of paid ads. You might be a media buyer for TV or radio. You might help them with cold email. There's a lot of different things that you could do in the done for you agency services realm. So when we say agency, that's really what we're talking about. You provide services that are done for you, sometimes done with you, but primarily done for you for your clients in whatever area of expertise you have. There might be people in here who are trying to offer all of the above. If that's you and you have not really found success in that, I'd recommend that you pay close attention, because getting these separated out is going to help you a lot. But that's more of the done for you service-based work.
In other words, you're selling hours based on a skill set and a talent, and you're dependent on human capital when you do service.
Or ideally, you're selling outcomes that you can systemize so that your time is a little bit, more released from. But yes, you are selling some sort of outcome that the client is not doing themselves. When it comes to SaaS, like you mentioned, there might be people in here who don't even have high level. If that's you, then step number one is definitely getting on the platform, because it's incredible. You actually have the ability to take this software and rebrand it as your own and offer it to businesses. Again, what types of businesses those are, that's up to you. So for example, my SaaS is called Pipeline Patriot, and my SaaS is high level, but I have lots of different accounts that we have built out that have funnels and automations and emails and texts and all of those things inside of it. And so when somebody signs up on that platform, they get access to those things. They actually get access to additional support through our program, to better understand how to utilize it. So that is really all it is to have SaaS as your business. There are some agencies who also want to offer SaaS, and there are some people who just want to do SaaS. That's it. They don't want to work with clients on a done for you basis. They basically want to resell the software under their own brand name with whatever perks and bonuses and inclusions that they want to add in that. So that is something super, super unique about high level in general. If you're not familiar with that, I don't know a lot of other software companies that allow you to do that. And it really is incredible. So you can put your own spin on it. You can brand it towards the avatar or the industry that you want to focus on, and you can make it your own. So pricing, similar.
Yeah, I want to add something to this as well. So we have the SaaS only model, where a lot of agencies have transitioned into just being a software company, right? Then we have the SaaS hybrid model, where they in option, if they want to do high ticket, they'll do marketing services or consulting services with it being housed inside their SaaS. Then we also have agency only services. But here's why we at High Level recommend having some sort of a SaaS product line, because we know from data that we have put together that agencies today have a 76% or higher churn rate within the first 90 days. Meaning, even if you provided amazing white glove, great service to that end business owner, odds of you getting canceled is very high, because we as marketers are typically on the chopping block in order to reduce budget, reduce costs, reduce time, whatever it is. So agencies typically get canceled out with their service within a couple of months. So then the agency game becomes a sales game. You got to have enough sales to offload your churn. Therefore, you can have a cash flow system. So SaaS allows you to just simply sell them a product or a technology package that has less than 5 to 7% churn. And High Level is the first company to really democratize that whole entire SaaS world, where we said, hey, take our features, put it on your own brand. Our price doesn't change. And guess what? you could keep 100% of the revenue you generate from your own SaaS products. So I just want to clarify that. So, Allie, really important to figure out offer, because I really feel like when it comes to ads, where people fail is the offer and the demand for that offer. Let's get to step 2.
Yeah, absolutely. So crafting your offer. Again, we know who it is we're trying to attract or appeal to. Now, what does that person want? What do they need? Because sometimes what they need and what they want are actually two different things. And what is going to give you, as the business owner, the best chance of financial success? So we're going to go into a couple of different documents here. We're going to walk through a lot of the elements of the offer that you need to focus on. But first and foremost, when we talk about crafting offers or paid ads in general, we really need to understand the numbers and the KPIs. So if you're a new business, you may not have all of these, okay? And that's going to be okay. You're going to want to revisit this in the future. There is a URL at the bottom of the page. I have a KPI calculator workbook that if you want to try and get all of your KPIs together really easily, that's a great place to do it. It'll have explainers of what each and every KPI means, what data you need to have to be able to do it. But here are some of the primary KPIs that we're going to want to know. Cost per lead. What does it cost us to acquire a lead? What is our cost per core event? So a core event might be a call, it might be a scheduled appointment, it might be a purchase, but this is what is that next core event look like for you? What is our conversion rate from lead to client? What is our cost to acquire that client? Super, super important. Other things that we would want to know are customer lifetime value, very, very important. The average purchase value, how much are they spending on average with each individual purchase? How many times are they purchasing with you? So that frequency, and then what Paulson just mentioned, that churn rate, how many people are you losing? These are all really, really important metrics. So as a whole, these metrics work when you are spending money on advertising. Okay. It doesn't have to be paid ads like what we're talking about right now. But if everything you're doing is organic, then there's a really good chance that every lead you've ever gotten, you have not spent money on. You've spent time to do that, but you don't have a dollar amount to be able to attribute it to. So what you're going to do, if that is your situation, is you are going to try and research what the benchmarks or the standards are for your industry for leads, appointments, purchases, those different data points. That doesn't mean that's exactly what you're going to get. And ideally, you should be shooting to get even better than what you're going to find. But we're just going to have to understand that it's going to be a guesstimate initially. And then as you start to spend money on advertising, you're going to revisit this and you're going to say, okay, this is what I spent. This is how many leads we acquired. This is how many clients we acquired. So now you actually are going to have that data on a much more reliable basis for your own business. A really big issue in the marketing space as a whole is focusing only on cost per lead. Cost per lead is important, but it's not by any stretch the most important number. To me, the cost per core event is crucial and the conversion rate is crucial. Okay. I could get 1,000 leads, but my business 95% of the time sells through a scheduled appointment. So if we are not getting scheduled appointments from those leads, I don't really care that much. I do care. I've built my email list. That's how I see it. It's like, great, I'm building my email list, but I'm not running ads to build my email list. Sometimes you might have campaigns for that, but I care about my cost per appointment. And if my cost per appointment is way too high, I know there's something not right there. Or if I'm not getting appointments, there's something very, very not right. And then by that same note, if you sell based on appointment, but you're not actually closing any of those leads into clients, you're also in a really bad position. So understanding this is so much more important when you're doing paid acquisition than it is when you're doing organic, because again, you're not spending money on organic, you're spending time, which is valuable. But if you get 100 leads organically and no scheduled appointments, you're not technically out any money. You're just out some time. Or if you get 15 calls organically and you don't close any of them, same deal. You're not out any money. But when you start spending money on ads, this is money. This is money out of your pocket. So really becoming a very data focused marketer, a KPI focused marketer or business owner is so important, not just for paid acquisition, really for everything. And it's something that will also serve your clients really well if you better understand these things, because these are things that most small business owners don't know very well either. And these are things that will help them see those areas of their business that they need to improve. So if you're tracking this data for your clients, you say, hey, looks like your conversion rate of appointment to sale is really low. That means that there's something that's not happening on that sales appointment. Let's review those calls with you. Let's see what we can do to help you change that. So it actually gives you a more consulting focus with some of your done for you clients, or even SaaS clients. You could do trainings on things like these, because these numbers apply to virtually all business owners.
Yeah,
What
real,
we
real
like,
quick, real
yeah,
quick, Allie. So those of you that are like brand new in the world of entrepreneurship or agency life in general, KPI, the word KPI, which stands for key performance indicator, it's something that you want to research and start studying and figure out how to implement that in your business. Similar to OKRs, if you are a little bit more advanced of a business owner, objective key result also is another measurement that people pay attention to. OKRs are considered like figuring out a macro goal for the whole quarter or the business, where you're like, you know what, I'm headed the right direction, where KPIs are more like, okay, I'm running the right direction, but I'm going to make sure my shoes are laced a certain way, right? And that's the way you want to look at it. OKRs are like almost macro in my mind, where KPIs are very specific steps that you're going to take your business towards the OKRs that you have. So do some research on what a KPI and an OKR is as you kind of develop your knowledge. So, but don't get intimidated by this if you're brand new to the entrepreneurship world. These are just metrics that we like to have in place when you build out paid advertising, especially.
Absolutely. And so again, I just want to reiterate this, that because paid advertising is spending money, it deserves another level of attention when it comes to those metrics. So if you're not familiar with them, that's okay. Start researching, like Paulson said. These numbers will be a great guide for you in the future to know the areas that you need to strengthen. So this is an example of our reverse engineering spreadsheet. So what we want to do is say, how much money do we need to spend to get a sale? So this is going to look a little different based on what your funnel looks like or what that sales process looks like. But on average, if we keep some of these red numbers, which are the benchmarks, in place, we can really predict, with pretty great certainty, what's going to be able to take place through the paid ads. So cost per 1,000 impressions, that's also referred to as CPM. CPM is really kind of underutilized. A lot of people don't pay much attention to it, but it has a huge impact on your advertising. So $30 CPMs are great. I've seen CPMs, increase quite a bit with Facebook and Instagram ads within the last couple of years, but definitely in the last year or so. I mean, if you can get $40 CPMs, you're okay. But when you start to get $50, $60, $70, $80, $90 CPMs, it's going to be really hard to scale that. So that's a number that should really start to be ingrained into your mind. Click-through rate is also important. 1% is usually more of the benchmark. We like to shoot as high as we can on that, because all of these numbers balance each other out. You might be a little high on your CPM, but if you've got a good click-through rate, it's just going to even itself out. But these are the numbers to really pay attention to. Your landing page conversion rate, about 20%. How many of those people are going to book appointments? Maybe about 10%, sometimes 15 or 20 if things are going really well, but about 10% on average. Show up rate, 70%, could be more or less depending on your industry. And then close rate, 20% average. So that means that if I spend $700, I should get 23,333 impressions, 350 clicks, around $2 a click, 70 leads at around a $10 cost per lead, 7 scheduled calls at about $100 per call. 5 of those calls will show up. So that's about $140 per show up call, and then 1 sale if I'm closing at 20%. So when you can reverse engineer the numbers, and your goals, it gives you a much greater level of confidence to spend because you know you're not going into it in the dark. People get very, very anxious when they start spending money on these things if they don't actually know what they're looking for. So just know that the data is your guide. These numbers will tell you what you're doing well and what you're not doing well. And as long as you're paying attention to them, you're going to be okay because you're going to say, all right, my landing page conversion is only 10%. That's really hurting me. What can I do to increase that? Now you know where your area of focus needs to be. It may not actually be on the ad at all. And most people will go straight to the ad. They'll be like, what copy or creative can I test? What new audience can I test? It's not your ad. It's the landing page that's hurting you. So tracking these numbers will show you where you need to focus as we go through this process. So with that being said, what do the KPIs really have to do with your offer? Well, they have quite a bit to do with the offer because the offer is going to dictate what steps of the process someone is going through and what that initial purchase might look like. Maybe the revenue is really going to come on the back end. We need to know all of those things. So before we start to put together that offer, we want to get a couple of things clear. What are your goals as a business? Is it a number of sales? Is it a certain amount of revenue? Okay. What are you actually looking to see? If we don't define that, you're going to be having a hard time of really determining if you're successful or not. Are there certain product or service areas that you want to grow? So if you're an agency that's doing done for you services, you probably have certain services that have a higher margin than others. You might have some that are really easy to fulfill and some that are really difficult to fulfill. Okay. We want to take that into account. What does your data tell you? Okay. Even if you have not been spending on paid advertising, that's okay. But what does the existing data in your business, because every business is going to have data, what does it tell you about where your clients are coming from? You know, what they're buying next, what they're staying with longest. I also think it's important to really ask yourself what stopped you from running ads. If you're a brand new business, then it's the fact that you probably didn't have a business before. But if you've been in business for a little bit, you want to figure this out because there's something internal that has stopped you. And so getting that out in the open right away is going to help you overcome that. So maybe it is fear of wasting money, or maybe it is fear that you're not going to be able to fulfill the services on the back end if you get a lot of clients from this. So understanding those things will help you kind of do the personal work or the work inside your business to prepare for this. Who's going to be a part of it? Are there other people in the business that can help you out? How much time are you going to give this to see what it can do? Do you have an amount of money that you are willing to spend on your advertising? And what are your strengths and weaknesses internally? So what we just looked at with the reverse engineering, if you know that your close rate on the phone is not very good, that is a weakness internally. And that is a weakness that no matter how great your ads are doing, will prevent you from making the greatest return on ad spend at the end of the day. So take a long, hard look at where those strengths and weaknesses are. Okay. We want to try and improve those weaknesses, but we also don't necessarily want to build an offer around an area that's particularly weak. You know, if you do things really well in your business, that is a really great starting point to say, okay, this service, it's easy to fulfill. It's got a great margin. We're confident in the team. We know we can deliver, right? That is likely the service or the area that you should be focused on.
Yeah. Real quick,
yeah.
Allie, can you go back to the slide before that? So the reverse engineer slide. So I just want to point out a couple of different things here for those of you that are a little bit more advanced when it comes to running ads, right? The cost of sale is not the same as cost of acquisition. And what we're trying to figure out is cost of acquisition. And the big missing piece there is the amount of labor that it takes for the follow-up after that initial sale interaction. You may have a 3-month follow-up setup there. Maybe you have appointment setters that are building out those appointments and cranking out those calendars, or you have closers in place because your cost of acquisition will change even if you ran ads or not. So I just want to kind of point that out.
Yeah.
Running $700 doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a closed client.
Absolutely.
It's the cost to generate a true sale activity. Doesn't mean you close a client. I just want to clarify that with a lot of people, because cost of acquisition is different than cost of sale.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to hop right over into the offer creation workbook. So this is a link that was linked in the presentation. I think Paulson's going to give this to all of you guys. So there are several things in here. We're not going to go through every single thing. This is something you can go through on your own, but we're going to talk about a couple of things. Number one, what should a great offer look like? What are the different types of offers? Then I'm going to show you some examples of SaaS offers, agency offers that could work. Again, this is another really big issue that I see with the people that I work with. They want to start running ads and they're like, I'm just going to say, hey, get this great software and see what happens. You know, it's not as easy as just putting out the product or the service. We want to have a specific offer. So this is the offer creation workbook. You guys should be getting access to this.
Yes.
These are some of the things that you want to make sure it includes. Number one, it needs to be profitable for you. If it's not profitable for you, it's not the right offer. It should be very risk-free for the consumer, scalable and easy to fulfill. It needs to fit that avatar and the business model. You don't want to overpromise. You want to make sure you can deliver and ideally exceed expectations, because that's when people will really want to dive deeper into you and your business.
Yeah.
There are three main types of offers: gated content, loss leader, and product preview. Most every business has a product preview offer, whether they realize it or not. That's going to be like a free quote or a free estimate or a strategy call or something like that. Okay. That's not necessarily the most exciting product preview offer in the world, but that is what it is. There's zero value to somebody unless they intend on moving forward with what you have. This also might be a demo call for SaaS. So what is that kind of core appointment or core next step if somebody wants to move forward? But those are not always the most effective ad strategies. Okay. Gated content offers and loss leaders can really crush it if done correctly. So gated content is a piece of content that is exchanged for contact information. Almost everybody knows this is a lead magnet. There's a lot of different types of lead magnets. Okay. That could be a checklist, a quiz, a template, a list, an ebook, a contest, potentially. That's kind of a mixture between gated content and loss leader. But it could be a video, could be a webinar, could be a 5-day challenge. Those are all examples of gated content offers. And those can all be effective for agency or for SaaS. I've used many, many, many gated content offers over the years, and some work a little better than others, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, but they can all work very well if done correctly. A loss leader is something that is useful, but it's incomplete. It's kind of an introductory step. It could be free or it could be low cost. It needs to get them in at the right time, and it needs to lead very seamlessly to that next step. So if you guys are on Facebook and Instagram, there's a very high chance that you've seen my ads for the Ultimate High Level Masterclass or the Local Lead Generation Masterclass. Okay, that is a loss leader. Those are $47 products. For the Ultimate High Level Masterclass, it's like 26 videos, a step-by-step setup course with resources, and people are blown away by the value that they're getting for $47. That's the goal. Okay. It's useful, but it's incomplete. It's not going to tell them everything they're ever going to need to know. It's not going to help them set it up. It's not going to drive traffic to high level for them, but it shows them, number one, that I know what I'm talking about in this arena. Number two, that I can help them because they've seen that what I've already provided can help them. And number three, it builds a lot of trust. People have gone through a lot of different videos with me. They're very comfortable with how I teach at that point. So that's a great type of offer. I love the low ticket tripwire strategy. We're not going to be talking a ton about that right now because it is a slightly more advanced strategy, but that is a great example of a loss leader. So we'll talk about a couple of different examples for agency and SaaS in that arena, but outside of that. So product preview, again, free estimate, consultation, could be financing. That's an offer, a time-based incentive, or maybe a bonus purchase. So like if you buy this, you get this for free. If you buy this, you get this for 50% off. Or maybe it's a bundle of services or features that go really well together. So we've already talked about a couple of things that you need to do to incorporate, a good offer into your business. But these are some of the things you need to be focused on in terms of what your offer helps them overcome: competition, money, time. So can you help them save time on something that would typically take longer? Effort. Do they need to put in less effort, or could you make the effort they have to put in significantly lower? Skill. So like I said with Small Business Bob doubts his skill in this space. So what I need to do is provide things in my offer that show Small Business Bob that you do have the skill. You may not know it yet, but you can do it. Simplicity. You do not need to offer everything that you have. Okay. Not on the front end, not in the ads necessarily. People get too many options and they freeze. They don't buy. You want to make this as simple as possible, even if that means focusing on one tiny piece of what you can do, or one tiny set of features that high level can do. If you're selling SaaS, focus on those, the transformation that they provide. And then once they're in the pipeline, once they're starting to converse with you or work with you, you can show them all of the other things that you can do on the back end. And then convenience. How can you make this as convenient as possible? So I really want you guys to go through this. There are lots of different questions that you can ask yourself to help you understand what type of offer is going to be the best fit for you based on your price point, your business model. I have detailed descriptions of kind of who's best for these different things. So this is really, really valuable, and I hope you guys will go through it. But we're going to take a look at the cheat sheets for recurring revenue, low ticket businesses, which is typically going to be SaaS. And in theory, you could actually be a recurring revenue, high ticket business with SaaS, depending on how you price it. But usually anything under about $2,000 a month, we're just going to consider that low ticket. For gated content, checklist, super, super simple checklist. All right. I love checklists. People love checklists. So don't overthink this. This is something that, again, if you implement it in the right way, which we'll talk about over the next couple of days, how to implement it the right way, you're going to be able to get the leads, the appointments, and the clients within your KPIs. Could be a case study that can work very well. List video trainings. So webinar or an automated evergreen video, could be a mini course, could be a template quiz. So we've kind of covered some of those, but these are some ideas for a SaaS business. A $27 automations pack for small business or for, insert avatar. Okay. It's similar to what we talked about with my low ticket Tripwire products. Could be that free 30-day trial with onboarding calls. If you're doing SaaS, most of you should probably have an idea that one of the biggest issues is if you are offering a trial, just the chance that they're not going to do anything. And if they don't actually get integrated with the software, they're not going to stay. So really having that support on the back end is very important. Could be conversational AI appointment setting. So that is a newer feature that came out in high level. I think that that's going to be a feature that you can really focus on selling on the front end on its own, just within the conversations tab. So again, we're taking out these pieces. It's useful, but it's incomplete because what's happening with all of the leads that are being booked? Do you have a booking system? Great. Let's get you set up on the booking system. Do you have the email and text set up? Great. Let's go ahead and get that set up for you. So it's going to highlight what they're missing and allow you to fill in the gaps. And it can also be an in-person seminar. I love in-person events. They work very, very well. You can get great cost per lead, great show up rate, and convert a lot of people at those in-person seminars. A product preview could be a year of emails with your subscription. So maybe you program this into your SaaS where you actually give them, a lot of email marketing. This is something a lot of small businesses struggle with, and it's something they typically know they need to be doing more. So that is a great bonus with purchase. Same thing with the free snapshot or, kind of the account build out with SaaS. Could do that monthly rate versus yearly rate. So they're just getting a savings if they buy the whole thing, or a free account setup with a 3-month minimum. So those are just kind of those only has value if they're already going to buy types of offers. I really don't recommend that you focus on these with your ads. Definitely not until you have built a decent size audience, because it's just going to be a much higher cost per lead, cost per call. And it doesn't mean it won't work. You can still be very, very profitable with it, but it typically is not going to give you the traction that you need to really feel good about it. For agencies, very, very similar things on the gated content offer. So it's really like, pick the thing that you feel most aligned with, pick the thing that aligns the most with your specific agency services. And then everything from out of that is really going to be, how is the ad campaign structured? How is the funnel structured? And again, we'll talk about that throughout the week. Loss leaders could be a single service, very low dollar amount. Okay. Reputation management or Google My Business, $50 a month. Well, that's great, but that's not what I'm actually trying to sell. That's fine. If you do SEO or something like that, it's a great initial loss leader. It gets that lead in the door. It gets them to open their wallet to you. It gets them to be on calls and actually get onboarded with you. And then they can trust you, and you can offer them the package that makes the most sense for them after you've really seen what it is that's going on in their business. Business intensives are also really great. That can basically be a full-blown strategy that is being developed for somebody. They pay for it, and then you can get a credit back to them if they decide to move forward. So seminars, very similar. And then you could do revenue sharing. You could do a guarantee on number of bookings per month. You can do free Google ads with Facebook ads. You could do a service bundle. Financing, really doesn't work for this because this is already a recurring service. But these are some ideas. So there's a lot of other documents in here for different types of businesses, but this is just a pretty general list of what you can expect for these different types of offers. Gated content and loss leader is really where I would encourage you to focus, because it is going to be the easiest for you to start getting leads, getting appointments, and then you can fine tune things from there. So the last thing we'll go over today is the audiences. So now we know that we need a solid customer avatar, and we need an audience or an offer that really speaks to that avatar. But now, how do we find that person? So
and real quick,
yeah.
Allie, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
You're fine.
Just real quick, those of you that are staying all the way through the workshop, we're gonna have a special bonus for you for attending. I forgot to totally mention it. We're just not salesy enough, and we don't think about sales that much, so I apologize. But either way, we're gonna have a bonus for you that comes with a lot of the collaterals Allie's talking about from her side, as well as a couple of things from high level as well for those of you that are attending the workshop. Okay, so let's talk about audiences.
Yeah. So typically with the ad strategy that I teach, we're going to break our audiences down into cold, warm, and hot. However, when you are getting started, you're probably not going to have anything but cold. So we need to focus on the cold audiences. That means they've never engaged with you. They don't know who you are. They don't know what you do. Even when you have a nice, big, warm audience or a hot audience, you still are going to focus on going to cold traffic. That's how you really scale with ads. But we're focusing right now just on cold traffic. There are more audiences we would create, but you just don't need to worry about those right now. The first is going to be what's called a saved audience. This is going to be where you can try and build out some of those audiences based on your avatars. Okay. So what are their interests? What's their family makeup? What type of demographics do they have? Maybe geographics. This is going to be a lot easier for somebody who is going to a national or potentially global audience. Small businesses have a challenge in this space because the bigger the audience is, the more opportunities Facebook and Instagram have to find the ideal person for you. So right now they are really encouraging like a 3 million person audience size. That doesn't mean that if it's less than 3 million, it won't work, but just keep that in mind. But this is the type of audience where you're selecting the location, you're selecting the age, you're saying, is this going to be men, women, or both? You can select languages. This is an interest targeting. So Amy Porterfield, she is a business leader. She is an interest. People who know of Amy Porterfield are often interested in the courses and, getting started in online business. So that is the type of audience that you might set up as a saved audience. These do not need to be bundled with every audience you think they could ever have an interest in. I really encourage you to pick one audience, interest, or behavior. You could mix maybe two, like let's say Amy Porterfield and they're a business page admin. Okay. That would be two, but that's really about as narrow as you want to get it these days with your saved audiences. But you do want to know, who are you speaking to? If there is someone who is going to be interested, but there's virtually no way that they're going to have the money to pay for it if they're typically below a certain age, we don't want to target that age group. If you've never sold to an 18-year-old in your life, let's not target 18-year-olds. If you've only sold to people that are 30 and up, let's make sure our age is focused on 30 and up. You might sell to both genders, but you might have one gender that is far more likely to buy than the other. Okay. Go ahead and just put your dollars where it's going to make the most impact. You can test other things moving forward, but we really just want to focus on who it is we're looking for, maybe that one interest or one behavior that we're going to be able to start testing. So these are not super complicated audiences, but this is what is called a saved audience. We also have lookalikes. Lookalikes are essentially Facebook and Instagram finding copies of the type of person you're looking for. So if we look at this top one on the left, appointment reports, okay, that's an example of a list of everyone who'd scheduled an appointment with us in the last year. Okay. So if I uploaded that list, I'd say, hey, Facebook, Instagram, these are the people that scheduled appointments with us. I want you to find more people who are like these people. So when you do that, it's going to ask you to select a geographic region like the US. You can see it says US 1%. It's also going to ask you what percentage you want to use. What that means is if I'm selecting a 1% lookalike, it's going to find people that are fitting that criteria really closely. Okay. Typically, in terms of quality, that could be best. In terms of size, you might want to go out 2%, 3%, 4%. To expand that audience size a little bit. But I do recommend starting by testing 1% first. A customer list lookalike is typically the highest quality lookalike you can have. It's based on your customers, people who've actually bought from you. So that's a great one. People who've made purchases. You could do website visitors. That's not always the highest quality. You could do social media page engagements. Again, not always the highest quality. So you want to start at the highest quality you have. Okay, if you do not have any of this data, that's okay. Pretty much everybody in here should be focused on B2B. You can do B2B audiences. I'm going to go back a second. Well, you can do B2B audiences with a lot of different mechanisms. So D7 Lead Finder is one that we use. You can search for an industry in a certain city. Okay, let's say I'm looking for chiropractors. I would have to look for chiropractors, New York City, chiropractors, Atlanta, chiropractors, Dallas. You're going to pull a bunch of different lists. It's going to scrape that data off the internet. You're going to put those into one spreadsheet together. And then you're going to upload that and say, hey, make a lookalike audience of these people. That's one of the best ways to find B2B audiences with Facebook and Instagram ads, is taking a scraped industry data list, uploading that as a lookalike. But just be aware, different keywords that you're scraping, they perform differently. So just because you test your first keyword-based scrape data audience, it doesn't mean that that's what you're going to see with all of them. You do have to test some of them against each other to see which one is going to perform the best. You might also use tools like Lead Enforce. That's another really good one to find great lookalikes of Facebook pages, Facebook groups, a lot of cool stuff that you can do with that. That is a paid tool. But for those that are interested in something maybe a little bit more niche, that is a really good way to go about it. And then you can also build list from LinkedIn, things like that. Those can work really, really well for B2B. I don't recommend that you use the job titles interest to find who you're looking for. It's not very effective. So the other cold traffic audience is really just going very broad, right? This is relatively new. It's called Advantage Plus audiences. They are encouraging people to literally select nothing and just let the machine learning find who you're looking for. This is a greater challenge with brand new ad accounts or brand new advertisers. If you don't have a lot of pixel data, you're going to struggle with this. You might get leads, right? The quality of those leads, it's going to be hard to know what that will look like. I've seen great results with this. I've also seen poor results with this. So this is something that you simply have to test, but this is the direction that they are encouraging people to go into. And a lot of times, if they're encouraging people to go into a direction, it's really worth testing, because sometimes they reward people for going in that direction. I test pretty much everything that comes out of Facebook and Instagram. Not all of it works very well, but this is something that we're going to be seeing a lot more of with AI and machine learning coming into play. But I do believe it's going to have a lot to do with how much data is in your ad account already. So now that we've gone through this, what do you need to do after day one? Number one, develop your top 2 customer avatars. Understand those KPIs. Maybe the KPIs you already have in your business, but you didn't know what they were. Maybe just looking up those industry averages if you're a brand new business, kind of getting a feel for what you can expect. Outline what your goals and expectations are going to be. Let's go into this with our eyes wide open, so we know what we're looking for and what we're trying to achieve. Start your research for those different audiences that you're going to be putting together, whether it's scraping those lists, pulling your own customer data or your own lead data, or maybe using some of those third-party tools that we talked about. And then just make sure that if you don't already, you have a business manager account. You can go business.facebook.com/overview, and it will help you set up that business manager account. We'll be talking a lot more about that tomorrow and the next day. So that's all we've got for day one. Paulson, if you want to open it up to Q&A.
Yeah, so let's just a couple of things that I want to just add to what Allie said towards the end of that is, if your offer is not working organically, more than likely it's not going to work with paid ads. Whatever that stinks organically will stink more in paid ads. If it works really well organically, more than likely it will work well in paid ads, right? So you really need to look at the economics of your offer and understand who are you serving, why are you serving it in a certain medium that they want. So pay attention to what you're doing. And the other thing about paid ads, it's like a big science project, right? Anybody remember the science classes? You had a hypothesis, you had independent variables and dependent variables. Most marketers out there, they make too many changes to the science project before a hypothesis even has a chance to come out and say, okay, your funnel works really well, but your creative is garbage. Or vice versa. Your creatives are, really good, but your funnel doesn't convert, right? So give it time to kind of populate its own data. Give it a couple of days. Leave those things alone. Don't wake up at 3 a.m. rechecking 5 different things. That's what most of us marketers do, especially when money is running. And when you run your own paid ads, I don't know about you, Allie, whenever I had my agencies, when you run your own paid ads, it's like the sensitivity of it goes like really biased, and you tend to change a lot of different things versus when you're running fulfillment ads for your customers. And I don't know what it is.
Well, it's because it's your own money, and you really have to, that's why I so encourage the focus on the KPIs, because you have to separate this from being an emotional action to a logical action. All right. We have to be looking at the data and taking action based on the data, not based on our up and down roller coaster of emotions. So on day 3, we're going to cover the testing campaign structure. We're going to cover the numbers you guys need to be looking for, how long to give it, all of those things. So you're going to have clear instruction on what to do. But from the very beginning, really asking yourself, what am I comfortable with? And going back to what you said about the organic, I think it's one of those things where if you don't have a clear avatar in mind and you are trying to blast an offer organically, sometimes maybe it's not going to get traction, but test it out with a specific avatar. See if things look a little bit different, and ask yourself, how much time, energy, and effort have you given it organically? So when I used to do my 5-day challenges before I started running paid ads for myself, I put in a lot of time and energy promoting those. I was posting multiple times a day, always tying that into the call to action. I was engaging in groups, not pushing my stuff in groups, but connecting with people, answering questions. I made sure that everything was always on my profile so they could go back and see that. So, you do need to make sure that if you're going to try and get some traction organically, you're giving it a good effort, because that is what it takes. Really, when you shift from organic to paid, it comes down to time versus money. I prefer to spend money than to spend my time, because when you get a system that is working day in and day out, and you know you don't have to sacrifice time with your family, time with your friends, time for yourself, it feels a lot better. But you're exactly right. Test this organically, see how it does before you invest a ton of money into that.
Absolutely. So those of you that are watching and kind of stayed through the end, I do have a bonus for you. And just so you know, here at High Level, we're not really salesy, so forgive my pitch here, but I know it's got a lot of value for a lot of you. If you are brand new to High Level and you're not even in our Facebook group, but you're just simply watching this monthly workshop and you've kind of been on like the fence about jumping into High Level, I want to just invite you to a 30-day trial, okay? If you jump into a 30-day trial, or maybe if you already have a High Level account, maybe you're on the 97 plan or the 297 plan, but you just simply upgrade to the higher plan, here's what we have for you. We're going to give you our SaaSpreneur Local Hero Playbook course, which is a course that's going to help you launch your SaaS. We also have another course called the 5-Day Challenge, which is specifically to help you get your first paying customer. In addition to that, you're going to get Allie Bloyd's paid ads snapshot, which we didn't even talk about today, but we'll talk about over the next 2 days. You'll get that snapshot as well as the cheat sheet that she shared on her screen earlier, as well as the offer creation worksheet, as well as the content slides for this workshop. All you have to do is either jump into a trial or do an upgrade. Now, here's the thing. If you are kind of on the fence about the upgrade and you don't know for sure 100% whether you want to upgrade or not, but you would like to talk with one of our special agents and have a strategy session with them, I will welcome you to do that. So here's what I want everybody to do. Go to gohighlevel.com/upgrade now. You should be able to see my screen here. There are two options. One is the 30-day trial, and that's to the 297 plan, okay? And usually it's a 14-day trial, but if you're brand new and you're watching this and don't even have a High Level account, jump into a 30-day trial. If you already have an account, click on the upgrade button and you can talk to one of our live agents and understand a little bit more details about what's in each plan. Maybe you're interested in SaaS plan and you don't know, or maybe you want to jump into the 297 plan and you don't know, but I just want to give you this specific offer. And this is only for this workshop, and it's going to expire at the end of this workshop. Just FYI, we never do promotions at High Level. So this is something I like twisted the arm of our founders as well as our team and Austin and Wesley and everybody behind. And I asked them, hey, can we please offer a 30-day trial or some kind of an upgrade? And you can talk to a live agent and have a strategy session there and kind of understand the difference between plans. And if you click that, I believe you'll be able to jump on a calendar or a live Zoom call from what I understand. So take advantage of it. I'm going to drop this link in our chat. And again, this is temporary. Like, we're not keeping this going too long. You get a 30-day trial or upgrade to a plan. You can access all the bonuses that we just shared, the snapshots, the 2 courses from High Level, as well as the worksheets, the offer creation planner, the avatar sheet, all those different things. So let's do this. I want you to raise your hand. I see Charles. I think Charles was the first one. We're going to take about, so 12:21, I want to end the call at 12:30. So we got about 9 minutes to go through and answer as many questions as we can. Please keep it to one specific question, no more than one question per person. So I want to just rapid fire here so we can maximize our time. Charles. Oh, yeah. Let me see. Somehow Allie got muted. Oh no. Let me go to ask to unmute. I might have accidentally done that, or our admin.
All good. I'm here.
Okay. Sorry about that. Let's go with Charles. Hey, Charles. There you are. What's your question? Charles, are you there?
Do you think he's not able to unmute himself?
Oh, good point. Let me see. Ask to unmute. I muted everybody because there was a ton of people talking while we were in live. Sorry about that.
No worries. So I've already upgraded my account, but I was curious, how do I get access to Allie's snapshot? Because
So
That'd be
if
helpful.
you, depending on which plan you're on, go to that link and click on speaking with the live agent, and the live agent will give you all the bonuses that we're talking about. So if you're already on the highest plan, you can jump in and talk to our live agent, and they'll just say hi to you and give you all the details. I would give it about a little bit of time. Like, I need to finish this workshop and make sure they're all set to go. But yes, you can talk to a live agent and they'll give you all the extra.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Let's go with Nataki. Hey, Nataki, how's it going? Question for me or Allie? Oh, yeah, let me unmute. There you are. Okay, I just unmuted.
Hey, I put my hand down. I had the exact same question as he did, so I was trying to lower my hand really quick.
No problem.
Yeah, same question.
No
Thank you.
problem. Let's go with Shane Bolt. Hey, Shane, how's it going? We're rapid firing, so I appreciate y'all being good sports here.
I guess it's actually two questions. One is, I heard it was really bad if you uploaded a list from D7 to use as a lookalike audience. So if you've done that, then that's an easy way to do it. The other question real quickly was, you mentioned, after you mentioned D7, you mentioned another paid tool that helps, and
Yes.
I can capture that.
Lead Enforce is what it's called.
Okay.
Yep.
Lead,
And-
and is that with an E or an I?
It's with an E. And so D7, I mean, at the end of the day, it really comes down to which cities and which keywords you're scraping. But you can have really great success with D7 lists and other types of, scraped list or procured list. But the quality of any lookalike really comes down to the quality of the data that you're uploading. So that's just something you have to really be aware of.
Would you run that a D7 list through a list cleaner? Like,
you could, but at the end of the day, they're going to be trying to match different people on that list with different profiles. So there's really not a reason to clean it necessarily. The ones that don't match won't match. But again, I've seen very different performance based on different keywords and cities that have been scraped in D7. So if you're going to go that route, you just have to try a variation of things.
okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, awesome. Let's go with Stephen Warren. Hey, Stephen. There you are. Awesome. Let me go ahead and unmute. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay. And I've got people asking me to put the link up for the offer itself. So let me just add that on there. There we are. Okay, cool.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead, Stephen.
Sorry, I'm getting over a sinus and ear infection, so I'm not the best.
Feel better.
Thank you very much. Your Facebook ads are obviously working, Allie, because all week in the past 2 weeks, I've seen nothing but your $47 course.
Perfect.
How much of that course is going to be over the next 3 days in here? And what else I'm on the fence of buying the course, leaning more towards buying it. What else is in that course compared to what you're going to be telling us over the next 3 days, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so the high-level masterclass is not about paid ads. There are different things that obviously apply to it because it's where you're directing people into your system. The high-level masterclass is really about how to get started or really ramped up with high level itself, understanding what you need to do to be successful with it. So it really depends on what your goals are. Like if you're somebody who's new to high level or you haven't yet switched over and you want to learn it better, definitely check it out. But it's not really at all what we're going to be talking about this week. So if you have any specific questions about it, feel free to reach out and I'm happy to answer those for you.
Cool. Let's go with John Johnson. Hey, John. How's it going? Let me unmute. Let me unmute again. Okay, cool. Are you able to unmute on your side? Oh, there you are. Okay, awesome.
Hello. So my question is, you talked about getting an avatar, small business Bob, but my question is, that's not literally one person, that's a group of people. And how do you get that information to build that avatar? Where do you get that from?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, they're going to be different avatars that represent different groups of people. So if you've already been in business, talking to your existing leads or clients is a great way to get that information. If you're just starting out, reaching out to people who are in that industry is a great way to start. Having real human conversations, asking them what their challenges are. Over time, you will get so much more data on the people that you're working with. We have very detailed onboarding forms that ask a lot of this stuff. And then on our onboarding calls, we dive into a lot of this stuff. So you will, over time, just get so much more data. But initially, you've got to really just seek out people who are willing to talk to you and tell you their experience, even just chatting with them online. There's so many Facebook groups. You can just reach out and say, hey, I'm doing some market research. Would love to ask you just a couple of questions if you'd be willing to provide some feedback. Most people are open to it. So that's the best route. You can obviously look things up online, but I've found nothing better than just real, genuine human conversations.
Awesome.
And
Thank you.
even the same avatar could be at two different levels. You can have a mom and pop shop that's a cleaning company, and you could have a cleaning company that's a franchise with 1,000, staff
Absolutely, for
right?
sure.
And they're both cleaning companies. So you got to really look at different levels of where they are, how long they've been in business. You have to really kind of measure their sophistication and attack that. That's really what it comes down to. And that's going to come from market research. Pick up the phone and dial, or walk in and shake hands and start talking and learning these people is what I would recommend.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's go with Alicia Storm. Hey, Alicia. So we're at 12:29, and I know we went over time a little bit, but if y'all are okay with it, I'm just gonna extend our Q&A for another 5 minutes. Is that okay with you, Allie? I know you got calls.
I do. Let me just send a quick message to my assistant and let her know I'll be 5 minutes late, and then we can hop in.
We'll go to 12:35 because I know there's going to be more questions if we don't get through these for tomorrow. So Alicia, Storm, let me make sure you're unmuted. Okay, awesome. Hey, Alicia, what are your questions?
Hey there. Yeah, I actually have two quick questions.
Okay.
Any recommendations for researching benchmarks for the industry, like for tools or any sites or anything that you would recommend?
Well, what do you do specifically? Is it SaaS? Is it agency?
B2B marketing for agency.
Yeah. So, one great way is just to talk to some other agencies. In part, it does depend on what services you're actually offering, what the price point of those services are, who you're offering it to. Those numbers are going to look a little bit different based on your answers to those questions. If you're interested in getting some agency benchmark numbers, I'd be happy to share those with you. In part, it depends on the strategy. So a gated content offer typically going to have a lower cost per lead than a product preview offer. So when you have that offer, which again is something that we're going to cover throughout the rest of this week, that is going to be a totally different cost per lead. In terms of cost per schedule, we typically always want to keep our cost per schedule under $200. But depending on the value of that customer and the conversion rate of that customer, you can technically afford to spend so much more than that. In terms of the actual ad metric benchmarks, a lot of those are actually going to be in the KPI calculator workbook or on that slide, that reverse engineering slide. So you're trying to hit under $40 CPMs. You're shooting for 1% click through, ideally. Landing page, very similar in terms of a gated content offer landing page should convert at a different percentage than a actual paid purchase checkout landing page or a product preview style landing page. So there are different metrics that will shift based on the type of offer. So I still recommend kind of focusing on the things that we covered today, just getting any data that you have, whether it's from your business or maybe just from others in the industry that are doing similar things. But if you do have additional questions, just let me know and I'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah, I would love that. And then my second question was probably more just a general answer would be fine. When you typically are troubleshooting, if it's going to be either the paid ads or the funnel, what do you typically look for in the funnel to test?
So the first thing that we're going to do is just look at what the stats are. So if we're looking at the ad stats and the ad stats are performing at the benchmark rates or higher, then we know it's not really an ad issue. It's possible that it could be an offer issue, but usually if the ad is really focused on the offer, which it should be, you shouldn't see that. So we want to look at the actual funnel stats themselves. The headline is one of the things that makes the biggest difference. We like to add a video on the page if a video is not on the page. If a video is on the page, we want to review the video. Making sure that the top of the fold is really optimized for people to be able to see the headline, see that core promise, have that button to take that next step. Page load speed is also important. So there's, it just kind of depends on the funnel itself, but those are some of the first things that we would look at if it is a funnel issue.
Awesome. Let's go with Shatoya. Hey, Shatoya, how's it going? I think you might be our last question for now. Maybe tomorrow we'll do a longer Q&A, but we had a lot of content to go through today. Shatoya, are you there? Oh yeah, let me unmute. That would probably help.
Hi, quick
Hello.
question. It's regarding high level.
Okay.
Does high level have the ability to have a lookalike audience and segmentation? Email segmentation?
Well, those are two different things, right? Lookalike audience is a capability inside ad managers, and segmentation is a capability of the CRM that you're using. And obviously, High Level is a CRM, so you can do segmentation inside High Level, and audiences, lookalike audiences inside the platforms that you use. Almost all the platforms have that. Allie, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I really think it kind of comes down to like what your goal is. But if you're trying to get people that are coming from those lookalike audiences maybe into separate email campaigns or separate email segments, you can definitely do that as well.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So Allie, what are we going to talk about tomorrow? Let's set the agenda for day 2. I know we covered a ton of different things, and I've got requests to show the upgrade link one more time, so I'll share that after. But help us understand what we're going to learn tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow it's going to be all about ad copy, ad creative, and some of those ad assets that you guys are going to need to actually build ads focused around the offer that appeal to the avatar and try and help you reach those key benchmarks. And then day 3, we're going to be talking about the actual technical ad campaign setup, how you're going to set this up, how long you're going to wait, what you're going to be looking for, all of that good stuff, and give you kind of a game plan and a roadmap to help you do that as simply as possible. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let me go ahead and share my screen one more time. If you don't have a High Level account, this workshop that you're attending is providing a bonus. You get a 30-day trial instead of a 14-day one. Go to gohighlevel.com/upgrade now. And this is specific to this workshop. Okay. Now, in addition, if you already are on High Level and would like to get all the bonuses and collaterals and snapshots and everything we shared, what you want to do is upgrade to the higher plan. And in order for you to do that, you can click the second button. And what that will do is invite you to talk to one of our live agents that'll help you understand the differences of all the plans and what you get with it. And again, if you're on the highest plan already and you've already upgraded, you wanted the bonuses, also jump into the live agent call as well, and they'll be able to give you all the bonuses. But Allie, thanks for doing a wonderful day 1. We're excited for day 2, and we'll see you tomorrow for everybody.
Yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.